Guys, I have a very interesting tier list video for you today. So, you know how I often talk about the missed potential of Fortnite seasons, how I don't think that Epic Games should be listening to the player base all that much, and oftentimes there were a ton of Fortnite seasons where I had a ton of fun, but then Epic Games went ahead and nerfed a bunch of things, and then I no longer had as much fun as I could have with that season. Today, we are going to be talking about those seasons. What if Epic Games never touched them? I'm talking like the big balance changes, and we are going to be ranking every Fortnite season if that was the case. So we're going to start it off, but hello everybody, welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I'm your guy with too many YouTube channels. So allow me to explain. Initially, I made a video a while ago ranking every single season in Fortnite. If you're interested, I will have that video linked, but I decided to take the ones out that actually had a bunch of changes to them, and I'll be walking you through exactly what I'm talking about. So this was what the tier list was like with those seasons not included. And of course, there were balancing updates, but it's nothing like significant to the point where I think it's worth revisiting, like talking about. And this was the placement where I had all of those other seasons, if that makes sense, okay? Let me tell you. So first of all, for example, we're going to be talking about Season X, and I have the things that I wanted to mention in my other monitor over here. So for Season X, for example, what if the mechs were never nerfed? What if the rift zones were never nerfed? What if there was no turbo build revert? Like they didn't like end up reverting that update, things like that. That's the idea. So we're going to assume that those seasons never received those changes from Epic Games, and it was just kind of left as it was meant to be, okay? Hopefully, that's understandable. Hopefully, you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Let's talk about Season X. So like I said, the big changes for Season X were the mechs ended up getting nerfed. There was the rift zones where the storm couldn't end up actually, the end zones couldn't actually land in a rift zone, and man, was that fun when it first actually happened. And finally, we had the turbo build nerf. That was all really crazy. Now, the turbo build nerf was pretty fun, and I get where Epic Games was going with that, and I still would like to experience a type of Fortnite, maybe an LTM, where there is a turbo build nerf, but man, Season X is my favorite season of Fortnite, that in Chapter 2, Season 7, to have the mechs at their full strength. I did like them a little bit better nerfed, and I'm not, by the way, guys, I'm not going to be spending time talking about, like, well, I had Season X previously in SS, and this is why I'm going to move it. I'm just going to rank them as if they're new, okay? I just really love the idea, and it was so much fun, man, when those end zones ended in a rift zone. The end games were some of the most fun and unique experiences I've ever had playing this game. So, Season X, no shock. While I do think it actually was better for the most part with the balancing changes because it was still a phenomenal season, this is absolutely an SS tier season. So, Chapter 2, Season 1. This one was a very small one, but if there was no delay in Chapter 2, Season 1, because a lot of people really fell out of love with this season because it was so long. I don't remember how long it was. Was it like 6 months? It was from about like October to February-ish. I think that's about where it was, but I did enjoy the entirety of Chapter 2, Season 1. If it was a shorter season, maybe I would have enjoyed it more. And I'm sorry, guys, I forgot to mention, too, I took the liberty of placing, like, the Chapter 6 seasons where I would like them, but there's nothing really to talk about them. But for Chapter 2, Season 1, I'm going to throw it at the bottom of A tier. Let's continue on to Chapter 2, Season 5. What if the sand tunneling worked the entire time? I think this would have helped it just a little bit, to be honest with you. I still really enjoyed the season. The loot pool was great. The crossovers were great. The map was great. The POIs really stood out this time around. Butter Barn was really fun to fight at. So the sand tunneling working, like, it worked enough to the point where I could have fun with it. It would have just added to it a little bit. Okay, so Chapter 2, Season 5, I'm going to put right behind OG Fortnite if it were unnerfed, okay? Chapter 2, Season 7, guys. What if there was no UFO nerf, no railgun nerf, and no recon scanner nerf? All of those things being busted. This is my favorite season of Fortnite, and that wouldn't have changed anything. I didn't think it was a big deal either way when they ended up nerfing those things. They were just like, they were a little extra busted, and they were still strong. At least, like, they didn't nerf them to the ground. You know what I mean? So, Chapter 2, Season 7 is going into the SS tier ahead of Season X. These are my two favorite seasons of Fortnite, and if they were unnerfed, if they were nerfed, it doesn't matter to me. Like, they still completely stand out. Let's talk about Chapter 2, Season 8. What if the Venom and Carnage items were never nerfed? There was no mech nerf. Could you imagine? Because remember when those mechs came back in? They were essentially useless. And of course, no shopping cart nerfs. I want those items to work as they used to, man. And I don't know, like, it's so tough. At least I understand the mechs, but why are we playing with the shopping carts? If the shopping carts came back, those little things that we could still have fun with. Like, do you remember how hype it was when in Chapter 2, Season 8, when we actually got the shopping cart return, just for it to not work the same way? I don't know what Epic Games tweaked with it, but it was garbage. And then nobody wanted to play with it. Same deal with the mechs. They sucked. They were worse than when they were nerfed within Season X. Okay? So I think it would have helped the season. This was already a strong season, in my opinion. I really enjoyed it, and it would have boosted it up a little bit. So where am I going to put it? I'm going to put Chapter 2, Season 8. I'm going to put it probably right behind Fortnite Resistance. Excuse me, right behind Fortnite Resistance. I think it's another A-tier season, okay? Fortnite Vibin. Small change for Fortnite Vibin. What if the Ballers actually worked? Of course, the Ballers were some of the fan favorite vehicles within Fortnite, and when they came back in Fortnite Vibin, everybody was excited for it, but they added the batteries, and they didn't bounce like they did in Chapter 2 or Chapter 1 Season 8. When they were introduced in Chapter 1 Season 8, they were so unique and so fun. And we're going to be talking about that because a lot of people had problems with it, but the Ballers were just completely useless, and that was kind of the selling point of Vibin. So I didn't like Vibin that much, but the Ballers, like, bouncing around them, maybe it would have helped here and there, but I still think it would have been just an okay season. I'm going to put Fortnite Vibin at do I want to put it in the C tier, man? I'm going to put it low B tier. Low B tier for Fortnite Vibin, okay? Chapter 4, Season 1. What changed in Chapter 4, Season 1? Good thing I have some things noted over here. Excuse me for just a moment, guys. What if there was no hammer cooldown nerf and no Excalibur rifle nerf? This wouldn't have changed much. Like, it didn't really matter. Everybody was still having fun with all of the weapons, and the Excalibur rifle really wasn't too much of an issue in general. So, Fortnite Chapter 4, Season 1 is going to go, and man, I don't even remember where I put it the first time around. I think I put it right behind Mega, but man, like, these three are so close that it really doesn't matter. There's really no change for Chapter 4 Season 1, but there is a change for Chapter 5 Season 2. What if the Greek god items were never nerfed? And what if they were never vaulted? What if the Avatar update still came, but you still had the theme of the season and all the fun items? Part of the fun for that season was playing with the season theme. That I agreed with the community about. So I think that would have helped it just a little bit. But still, like, the Chapter 5 seasons essentially just kind of still suffered from being the Chapter 5, the attachments, the bullet drop. I personally didn't enjoy the gunplay. And of course, again, I should have mentioned this at the beginning, but it goes without saying. This is all just my opinion. I don't think it would have helped much, but it would definitely have helped a little bit. Is it enough to put it in the B tier? No. I'm going to put it at the top of C tier, okay? That's not going to change too much, but for Wrecked, oh boy, that would have changed a ton. What if there was no Nitro nerf? What if there was no car nerf? What if you had the chaos at the beginning of the season throughout the entirety of the season with all of the updates to come? The things like the Magnetos, the Pirates of the Caribbean update. Oh my god, that would have been so much fun. I know that there's some of you in the comments down below already typing and crying about, like, the PTSD you probably experienced within that season, but man, I think that would have been so much fun. Now the question is, would I have enjoyed it more than Wilds? Because I would bump it up to a B tier. But I don't know, the cars were pretty fun. No, maybe. Yeah, I'm going to put it in the B tier. Guys, I don't know what I want to know what the hell I was smoking. Because I think that Wilds is an A tier season. Oh man, you guys are going to hate me for this one, dude. I'm actually going to bump up Wilds. I enjoyed playing Wilds. Dare I do it? I do it. We're going to put it ahead of Paradise. I enjoyed Fortnite Wilds, man. I think that was great. I don't know what I was smoking when I was putting it in the B tier. So, where would Chapter 5 Season 3 go, though? Where would Wrecked go? Definitely B tier. Now, is it better than Chapter 4 Season 4? That's a toughie. I'm going to go with no. So, I'm going to put it right ahead of Fortnite Lawless, okay? Absolute Doom. What if there was no nerfs to the Marvel items? That wouldn't have changed much. This is one of my least favorite seasons of all time, which is shocking because I have Nexus War over into the S tier, but still suffer from the Chapter 5 stuff. The Mythics weren't nearly as much fun to use, and unfortunately, while I did love the Doom mechanic, I never got to play with it much, but it still was really cool for the season. In my opinion, I didn't have nearly as much fun with it, so this is going to go at the bottom of C tier, and the reason, of course, we are going into C tier is because I don't believe Fortnite has ever had a bad season, okay? Fortnite, Chapter 6, Mini-Season 1. What if Darth Vader was never nerfed? What if there was no Force Mythics that were nerfed? And I know they didn't get nerfed throughout the season, but when they were reintroduced, the Force Mythics were nerfed. They were not the same. At the very least, a couple of them weren't the same, okay? I think this would have helped the season a lot. And I'm an enjoyer of Galactic Battle. I'm not with the rest of the community on this one. I thought it was a good season. Could you imagine if Darth Vader was how they first introduced him before they made him no fun, and you had that for the entirety of the season? That, along with the busted Force mythics, that made Mega so much fun. I think that this would have boosted it completely. Guys, I think this would have made it an A tier season. And I probably would put Galactic Battle. I would put it. Ooh, this is tough, man. This is tough. There's a lot of really fun seasons that I've had. I would put it, and of course it's a little bit tough to say because of course we didn't play with that. But I can imagine how it would be. I'm putting it somewhere around a 0 point and somewhere around Wilds. I'm going to put it actually right ahead. I'm going to put it right behind Fortnite OG, okay? Now, Chapter 1, Season 5. What changed about Chapter 1, Season 5? Where am I, okay? No mounted turret nerf, no suppressed SMG nerf, no explosive vehicle knockback nerf. Oh my god, I forgot about that. Dude, the explosive turret, that was a necessary nerf. That was something that was beyond busted within the game. But what would have been really cool is the suppressed SMG, because if you remember, in Chapter 1, Season 5, or Chapter 1, Season 4, moving on to Chapter 1, Season 5, oh my god, the suppressed SMG was one of the greatest guns in Fortnite history. So I think Chapter 1, Season 5 did have some necessary balance changes, and if they didn't change this, I think it would have hurt the season a little bit, to be honest with you. I think that the changes and the nerfs that were made this season were helpful. So if this was unnerfed, I'm actually going to put it a little bit lower. But where am I going to put it? It was impossible to play with people back in the day when they had that mounted turret and the suppressed SMG. You would just die like instantly. I'm going to put it actually like further down. Dare I bump it into a B tier? Because again, it would have been very difficult to play, but it would still have that same magic. I'm going to put this one, I think it would be ahead of Chapter 2 Season 1, but it would be low A tier now, okay? Let's continue on to Chapter 1 Season 6. What if the Shadow Stones worked? They worked for a little bit, and it didn't really help the season all that much. It's kind of like the same thing like I was talking about with 0 point. It wouldn't really change too much. And Chapter 1 Season 6, it was a fun season. Four Nightmares was great. The Shadow Stones would have just been like a nice cherry on top. Where do I want to put it, though? I think I'm going to put it right in front of Fortnite Super. I think that's a good spot for it, okay? Chapter 1 Season 7, though, guys. Oh, my God. What am I doing? Why don't I just, like... There we go. Oh, well, now we're talking about Chapter 1 Season 8, okay? Chapter 1 Season 8, what if the Ballers were never nerfed? Remember when the Ballers first got introduced and everybody had them in endgames, especially if you were an arena player? Now, I understand why that might be frustrating for some people, but it brought a very unique aspect to Fortnite that we haven't seen before. Everybody was just bouncing on each other, and like at the same time too, the Ballers did damage too, so everybody was just attacking the people who did not have Ballers, and the map was littered with Ballers. It was so much fun. It was so chaotic. Everybody was constantly bouncing off of each other, and it made for some of the most fun endgames of all time, and everybody was camping with their Ballers. It was a great time, okay? I don't think it would have changed much this season, and I don't recall where I ended up putting Chapter 1 Season 8. Do I want to put it in the S tier? I think I probably would. But maybe, does it stack up to those seasons? Yeah, maybe. I'm going to put Chapter 1 Season 8, guys. If the Ballers, and we still had those crazy endgames throughout, it was a great time, man. It had some great updates, a great loophole. Everything was great about Chapter 1 Season 8, and I think that would have made for just a little bit more fun. I'm going to put this... It's so tough, the S tier, man. It's so tough. And I'm thinking about this like it's life or death, of course. I'm going to put this right behind Nexus War, okay? Chapter 1 Season 9, no. What if there was no drum gun nerf, and what if there was no combat shotgun nerf? I think the nerfs for this season were very necessary. If the combat shotgun was allowed to be as it was when it first got introduced, oh my god, you would die instantly. It would be really hurt like it was with Chapter 1 Season 5, except way more, because the combat shotgun was a sniper. You, like, won games. All you needed was a combat shotgun and no other gun in your inventory. And that really hurt the meta. So if they never changed that, that would have lowered things, to be honest with you. And I think I would put Chapter 1 Season 9. I think, guys, I would actually put it right behind Fortnite Wrecked, okay? And finally, Chapter 1 Season 7. What if there was no plane nerf? What if there was no what if the Infinity Blade was allowed to be in the game? What if there was no balloon nerfs? And what if there was no hand cannon nerfs? The hand cannon, one of the worst changes in Fortnite history. Why did you change the balloons as well? But, oh my god, the Infinity Blade was so much fun. In my opinion, it was so much fun, and I still have the opinion that it shouldn't be an arena, and I think it's crazy that it was an arena at the first place, okay? Keep that in mind. It was so much fun, though. And the planes at the beginning when they were busted, guys, if you happen to be a new Fortnite player like Chapter 2 and onwards, you did not know the planes' glory days when just driving through a bunch of builds, shooting people. It was so overpowered, having dogfights in the sky. It was so unique. It was so fun. It was busted. In Chapter 1, Season 7, in its glory, oh my god, it was a great season, and this would have definitely elevated it, in my opinion. You would have had a lot more to do in an already near perfect season. This, in my opinion, would have made it better. And again, coming from a casual experience, I don't believe any of that should have been in arena at all, but in my opinion, this would have elevated the season. It would have made it a lot more fun. So I'm going to put Chapter 1 Season 7 in. So many tough choices. I would put it right behind Chapter 2 Season 2. So this is the updated version. What if these seasons never got nerfed? What if the balance changes never took place? What if Epic Games just said, hey, F you to the community, this is how the season's launching and this is how you're going to like it? This is how I believe I would have ended up ranking everything. But if you're interested, we did make the entirety of every single Fortnite season ranked just as they were, and like not talking about like specifics with nerfs and all that. So you can check that video out right here if you're interested. I would love to have you guys over there. Thank you very much for watching. Take care, guys.